And now, it's time for another Dice Tower review with Tom Vasel.
Hey folks, I'm Tom Vasel, and today we're taking a look at Roll for the Galaxy Rivalry. This is the second expansion for Roll for the Galaxy, and boy is it a big one. It's actually 3 expansions put together into one. There are 3 different modules that we'll be looking at. One of the modules is basically more stuff. The other 2 use customizable dice. There's a lot of stuff inside this expansion, so let's take a look at each of the 3 modules. So the first module is essentially more stuff. So the game comes with some orange and black dice. Now these came in the first expansion, so they're not really a huge change. The black die essentially replaces one of the white dice that each player starts with. It just kind of gives you a bigger jump on things, and the orange die is a die that certain of the planets are going to give you. Now the black die and the orange die both have some of them have double symbols, so that's pretty cool, where you'll be able to pick which symbol goes on. And some have dollar signs, and if you use this die on a specific thing, so if I use this die on technology, then when I'm done it goes back in the cup. So dollar signs can go back into the cup. This game also introduces these dark blue dice here. These dice are just another kind of dice. They have a lot of double symbols on them with the numbers, and for purposes of much of the game, they're also considered to be blue dice, just like the light blue dice, but these are better dice. So these are included with the game. There's also a bunch of new starting things here. Many of these are going to be, hey, here you get the new dice. So this gives you the Pioneer, the dark blue die, into your cup. Some of them are going to, like this one here, reduces what you need for developments and reduces what you need for colonies, a terraforming program, and genetic psychics. By the way, I really like both of these starting things quite a bit. Alien refining technology. This one here gives you a purple and a light blue, dark blue. So you'll notice that they give you some of the new stuff. And there's also new special abilities and stuff. And the rulebook has an FAQ on how to use all these. Some more starting worlds here. Again, working with the dice. I like this one here. Start with 2 novelty dice. I'll take 0 points for that. So start with 2 of those. Interstellar Merchants, where you get a light blue and a dark blue. So there's a lot of cool just variants, and this is the number of starting possibilities is huge. Then of course, just tons and tons of new tiles in general. This one lets you reassign military people in a thing. There's more level 6 things in here. Alien Uplift Explorers, predictive modeling, and of course all these have things on the back of them. I like this Uplift Coalition a lot, which gives you 1 victory point for every Genes world you have. The Mystery Monolith is a nice one because it costs 5 but is worth 8 points total. And of course, I'm not going to go over every single thing that's in here, but you can see there's a nice mix of both colors and worlds and technologies. And all this stuff you can just throw into your normal game. You don't even need to really know any of the rules other than using the orange, black, and dark blue dice. For the next 2 modules, there's some rules that are going to be the same. First of all, rather than start with the ordinary card here that you have a 6th phase here, the deal phase. And the deal phase is actually going to use the dollar signs. If you're using either of these modules, when you roll the dollar sign, it does not go back into the cup. Instead, you can put them underneath the deal. And in fact, there is now a new reassign power. You can always put 1 die underneath the deal. And the deal is going to work with both phases. There's also going to be these tokens that can be used. Basically, some things will give you these tokens. You can use these as wild dice, and they're one-time use, they go away. But if you don't spend them at the end of the game, they turn into victory points. So the game here comes with customizable dice that are going to be used in both games, although in the second game they're not needed, but I'll mention that in a second. In the orb technology game, each player is going to start one of these, and these you can simply just take sides, put them on like that. These little arrows come here and pop them right off, so pretty simple. And each player is going to start with 1 die that's going to have 2 of these different symbols here, but there's going to be a whole lot more sides that you can put on these dice. Each worker that's put into the deal during the deal phase is going to provide 2 upgrade points. and players are going to be able to upgrade the sides of this die. Now, why would you want to do that? At the beginning of your turn, every player rolls these and puts this die in front of their shield, and then whatever it shows on it is going to happen. As you can see, there's a whole lot of different possibilities, but you're going to want to upgrade the die, so you can spend these upgrade points to upgrade different sides of the die. You'll be able to upgrade in different categories of technologies, and you can switch from one to the other for a certain number of upgrade points. You can upgrade from a level 1 to a 2 to a 4, and things like that. And so they're going to give you bonuses. You'll start with this one, which when you roll this, you immediately get 1 upgrade point. If you roll this one, you can reassign another worker, and if you get this one, you basically have an extra explore die that round. But once you decide to go in here, you can use these dice to basically make your developments cheaper. Use these to make your settlements cheaper. Use this to give you money, or those talent counters I showed you earlier. Use this to do extra exploring. Here you can shift dice from worlds to worlds. And the utility has a bunch of various things. Like here I can reassign 2 workers. I can improve my alien orb. This one is if you want to improve it faster. And then this one, you point the arrow to another side, and basically you'll make that side happen more often. So all these are here in this sheet that players have. They're going to roll this. When you play with this version of the game, you will start with an extra 3 victory points per player at the beginning of the game, so the game will last a little bit longer. The deal game has some pre-put together of these custom dice, but here's the fact. You're never going to change them. These could have just been pre-printed dice. And these dice are going to let players make deals. This is going to be put in the middle of the players. You're also going to have a priority track here, and this will matter if players want to make deals at different times. So what players are going to do, they're going to play the game normally, except they're going to use the $ to do the deal phase. And you're going to be able to use your dealers, essentially, and place them out on the board in spots that match your color. So you'll notice there's spots on each side of these deals, and there's 3 places for a deal to be made. So when you do this, you're going to, each round, these dice are going to be rolled. And these dice are going to stand for lots of various different things. And you're going to be able to pick one thing. So maybe I want to trade 2 victory points for a dark blue die. Now, of course, I could have gone to the other side and traded in a blue die to get 2 victory points. It's up to me how I want to make the deal. And so there's a whole pile of different things, and these are all shown here. Some of these are going to be pretty simple. You get or give up dice. You're going to basically, you can get money, so getting credits. You can take new tiles that are included with the game. So I can take some generic mining worlds and trading affinities and put those in front of myself. Some generic novelty world. You know, there's all sorts of different things that you can build. You can shift development workers in your citizenry. You can add to your treasury. The game comes with these extra length treasury, so you can make your treasury longer so you can store up money and, of course, victory points. So all these things will tell you what to do if you're giving it or taking it. Now, another player could use one of their workers and take the opposite end of the deal. You don't actually trade with each other. You're both trading with the bank, but it has effect if you trade it with one another. If at the end of a round, there are equal people on both sides of a deal. So in this case, there's one on this side and one on this side. Then you'll remove the dice, and people on each side will get whatever it shows here. So here, money. Here you get one of those tokens, those trade tokens. The farther down the deal is, the better off it will be. If there is an unequal amount there on one side, so let's say, 3 people decided to do this one. And remember, you could even do both sides of a deal yourself. So if that's the case, let's say 3 on this side and there's only 1 on this side, then the deal is just going to move forward. If the deal finally moves off the end here, each player is going to get 1 talent counter. But either way, whether the deal is closed or whether the deal just goes off open-ended, these are removed, given back to their owners. You get your dice back. They're going to be stuck there otherwise, and you continue on. So these dice are going to be rolled all the time. You're going to have to look and see what's available. Like, look, here's a lot of dice. Maybe I no longer want an orange die, I want a blue die. So it's up to you, and you can kind of manipulate this and do anything you want. You can play both of these modules together, but just be warned, that is a lot of complexity, and the rulebook kind of points you that maybe you shouldn't do it. So storing this is going to be a pain. I mean, there's no question. And going through all these sides of faces, I'm not going to sort them out. These dice, this is going to be one of the, it's weird to me that they made them so that these are the customized dice. So after talking to the folk that it was a cost thing, it's still confusing though when you first open it up and you have to build these dice and such. And I don't know. I wish these were better. Now, here's the biggest thing about components in this game. The best thing about Roll for the Galaxy over Race for the Galaxy was the fact that symbology was at a minimal. You don't need to look at things all the time. In this game, you do. Now, some of this stuff I can figure out pretty easily. Some of it I have to look at, and there's big, long paragraphs on it. Even this side, some of this stuff was very obvious what it did, other of it's not. And so this definitely introduces symbology back in. Now, the custom dice themselves, I think they look really cool, and they're really easy to pop out with these little arrow pieces. So I like these dice a lot. They roll well, they're fun. I don't necessarily like them on here as much because they're a little bigger than the spots on the trading board, which is kind of annoying. They cover up some of the stuff. I wish this board was a little bigger, but then again, that board takes up more space on the table. All the new tiles for this one have a symbol on the top, so they're easily pulled out if you don't want to play with them. But happily, all these new things do not have anything to do with this two new modules. So if you just want to throw these in and not worry about having to pull them out all the time, you can do that. Now, I love Roll for the Galaxy, so I'm always excited to get more stuff for it. So let's break through these three modules. First of all, the more stuff, awesome. The dark blue dice, awesome. The black and orange dice, well, I already knew they were awesome from the first expansion, but having more of them is fine. Love it, great, fantastic. The other two modules are a little trickier. I already mentioned one of the problems, and it's that, having every player have one of these and pouring over it, if you use two sides, heaven help you there, but pouring over this, it does slow the game down, and that's problematic. The game is so fast. So I'll just straight up tell you, I like the orb game. The deal game, not so much of a fan of, but I'll go back to that. But both of them are going to dramatically slow the game down. You're going to have to sit there and be like, which side do I want to buy? I don't care what you tell me, that slows the game down. Someone at the table is going to sit there and go, I don't know, because there's a lot. And a lot of choices is great, but it's definitely going to make you think, So that's more problematic, I think. I would only play this with experienced people. In fact, I played it with some people who weren't experienced, and it was fairly overwhelming for them. Now, the orb game is fun. It's fun to roll that die and see what you get, although it can be a pain to buy a really cool side and never have that side show up. You could eventually maybe buy the arrow, but that's not a cheap technology anyway. It's an okay technology, and point it to that side. But still, it's possible that I bought one that gives me cheaper technologies. Yay! But I never seem to roll that side. So just realize that that part of the game is there. And again, it does slow the game down. I like it. I would play with it. But again, only with experienced Roll for the Galaxy players. But I like it. I'm not a fan of the deal game. Now, brain-wise, it sounds fascinating. Ooh, I can trade anything for anything. Okay, so I look at the dice that are out there. Well, I can give up 2 victory points to take a black die. There's some really cool things. Here's the two problems I ran into with this. First of all, it's just too much. Roll for the Galaxy is a fast-paced game. This really slows the game down, especially since you need to roll those dice in the middle. By the way, I should have mentioned, you might have wondered why one of the dice was black and the other ones were white, because the black die is considered like a premium style die, and so it costs more to use that die when you put that die on one side of the deal. But you sit there and you look at the face that are rolled, and they're not the same every time. So you roll 7 faces, and you're like, okay, this is what's available, this is what's available. Okay, I could trade that for that. I could trade that for that. And it's not as fast. Now, when I first played the game, I was like, oh, easy. I can trade this, for a white die, for a yellow die. Huzzah! What a great deal. I don't mind paying some money or whatever the difference was. And that's a good deal. I'll take that side. No one was going to want it to trade back, so then I just watched the deal go away. And as the game went by, everyone's taking their dice and they're using them for things. And to throw dice over there to trade one thing for another doesn't seem like a great return. Now, I would bet than an extremely smart person, and I'll put the co-designers of this expansion in there. I would bet that they would be able to just lap me in circles with all using this and trading back and forth. I'm sure that would happen, but it's not intuitive. Trading with someone else virtually is kind of a heady concept, and I don't think it works here. Like, I trade this for this, and you trade that for that. So in reality, we traded each other. Sure, but it doesn't happen as much, and that roll the 7 dice, get out my chart, read what they all do, think about what if I do, if I give or take them, think about the deal, make the deal, then everyone else considers the deal that you made, and maybe they want to jump in on that deal or make their own deal, and it just really lengthens the game. And it adds complexity that I don't think Roll for the Galaxy needs. I think people who are really into the game and have exhausted every corner might find some use of this, but I would only recommend that to the most experienced players. This is my problem with this expansion. I like this expansion. I'm going to keep this expansion. I will play with this expansion, but this is an expensive expansion. Costs more than the base game, and that's because there are 3 different modules inside. Now, the justification for this was, hey, if they sold them all separately, it would cost more. I grant that. But the fact is, I don't want them all. I only want the first one and maybe the second one. I don't want the third one. And I would imagine many people are in that same predicament. So it's kind of a bummer to have to be forced to buy parts of an expansion that you don't want. Now, I know lots of games have expansions of multiple modules, so I got to be careful here because this is nothing new to this one. And I tend to like expansion with multiple modules, but in this case, a couple of the modules made it much more expensive. But if you're a huge fan of Roll for the Galaxy, you've already bought this, so it doesn't really matter. I feel like Roll for the Galaxy is this really pure, fast-flowing game. The first expansion kind of upped that ante a bit. It was added a little bit of time length, but not too much, and gave you stuff. Again, the more stuff in this one, easy enough. The extra phase for the technology die doesn't even add that much, but the trading phase, I think, takes it over where I want Roll for the Galaxy to be. If I'm going to do that, I might just want to play a bigger game like the new Frontiers game, the board game version of this. So, I don't think anything in here is bad. I just think that I don't want to play the deal game, and even if the deal game's out there, it's almost like, oh, it's so much work to get involved in the deals, I'll just ignore it and do my own thing over here. But for some folks out there, and I don't think there's actually a lot of people, some of them will like the deal. They'll like that extra complexity and intricacies that it adds. But the first 2 modules, especially the build your own custom die, even though it does add time to the game, I think some people will like it so much because building your own custom thing is fun. And then, of course, the extra stuff, that's fantastic. Dice Tower and Judgment, I approve 2 of the modules.